Coming to you live from the hidden city of Hamunaptra. I think I said that right. It's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and I may not be an explorer or an adventurer or a treasure seeker or a gunfighter, but I'm proud of what I am, and that's a podcaster. with me here on the wrong side of the river are two men. First, his body is no longer our temple. It's Chris.
It's so true.
And second, compared to him, all the other plagues were a joy. It's Andy.
Yeah. I'll take that.
I thought of you guys when they said those things in the film. We are the 10 Point Podcast. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts and wherever you watch your YouTube video podcasts, because we are also on YouTube. That's the only place you can watch the YouTube ones, I would imagine. You can find us on all the social media channels. 10 Point Podcast, no numbers, all letters, just 10 Point Podcast. Twitter and Facebook are the main ones. We don't have an Instagram because we are a podcast and Andy's not set one up yet to tell me otherwise.
Nope.
Please get in touch. We want to hear from you. And we've just been discussing before the podcast started that we definitely want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of what we've done so far and what specifically you'd like to hear from us in the future.
Big plans,
that might
big
be very
plans.
important. So yes, please let us know anything that we have not yet done that you would like to see us touch upon. And of course, head over to 10pointpodcast.com. You can email us directly there. So that's a good place to get in touch if you don't fancy the old social medias. And you can read any of the special articles and bits and pieces and reviews are up on there. Every week there's something new. Andy, do you know off the top of your head what there is new on the podcast? On the website?
It's a mystery to me as well.
Okay.
Just
Every
goes
so
up.
often we get some new articles up on there, so keep an eye out. There's nearly every week there's something new up on there. Okay then, quickly on to what we've been watching this week. What have the lads been watching in the last week? Chris, what's been on your television over the last 7 days?
Apart from TV series, I actually watched Riddick this week. I'm a big fan of all the Riddick films. It's probably when Vin Diesel's at his best, I'd say. So definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed it. Back to being him, just himself, pretty much.
I hated that film when it first came out, and on a second rewatch, I really like it.
So it does happen.
Yeah, it was a shock to the system.
Back to watch all the bad films he doesn't like, so he can like them.
Yeah, it was a shock to the system coming from Chronicles of Riddick, which was a big epic, going back to him by himself. I didn't like that the first time around. Second time around, it makes sense.
I think that's the one I've not seen. I've seen the other. I've seen Pitch Black and the Chronicles of Riddick, but not just Riddick. So
I did like it.
I cannot possibly comment. I wasn't a big fan of the first two, so it might change my mind. Andy, what's been your big watch over the last week?
I watched something. Can't remember what it was again. Classic.
Standard.
Standard. Been watching a lot of murder things and stuff about the Cecil Hotel.
Murder Pod.
No, not quite, Chris. You bell end. Cecil Hotel, that's everywhere now, whether it be Ghost Adventures, Netflix documentary, or even Discovery's own version of it. Don't stay at that hotel. It's a thumbs down for me in that hotel. Shit goes down. And then, just a lot of serial killer random shit, because I've pretty much finished the internet. I've done that. TV shows I'm pretty much completed, and films I'm pretty much getting there as well. I need cinemas to reopen so I can actually watch some new shit. I'm sure there was something I watched, but I can't remember what it was.
I'm positive there was. I'm sure it'll come. Was it The Little Things? Did you watch The Little Things?
Oh, I watched that. Yeah, that's how much I recommend that film. It's
forgettable.
The Little Things.
Oh, it's got like Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, and Jared Leto, all-star cast. Utterly fucking waste of time. Like
by all accounts, Jared Leto's getting a lot of nominations for awards, surprisingly coming from it.
Everybody's absolutely brilliant in that film, and the story's absolutely brilliant. But then it doesn't end. It's a film, and then you wait for the ending. It doesn't come. It's the little things.
Okay. I've heard it's an ambiguous ending, which would definitely fit in with what Andy's saying there. In terms of me, in the last week, I've been very light on the films because I've been trying to catch up with the boys, the two boys here.
Yeah, the boys.
So, the boys. I'm halfway through season 2, so I'm about half season behind where everybody else is. Very much enjoying it, and it is indeed my kind of thing, as I was told by everybody who told me to watch it. Told me it's my kind of thing, and it is.
You're nearly at the best scene ever.
I think he's done the best scene ever.
I'm past the whale, if that's what you're talking about. Chris is gone.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
He's done the whale, and he's done your parenting style as well, Chris.
Oh yes, and yes, to avoid spoilers for anyone, yes, the attempting to fly scene has happened as well. Which, yeah, as Andy says, we imagine your parenting techniques have come from that. But yeah, other than the boys, I'm up to date on WandaVision, which is the top show going around at the moment. I've been watching that and going mad, and it's been scrambling my brain. But the last film I watched was the original film, not because it's going to get confusing, is The Purge, the first film that was called The Purge, with Lena Headey and Ethan Hawke in it, which on a rewatch is it's all right. I think all the other ones after it are more purgy and more
Aye.
fun, where they can see they had an idea and it's like, well, we have to make this one first, and then we can get all the good ones afterwards. Or like
Just like, I'm going to be controversial here, right? There's a lot of controversy flying around, especially today. We won't go into this thing, but
haywire, it's gone haywire, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's gone a bit haywire. You two are very much in support of that person, but hey ho.
No.
You both enjoyed that person, but anyway, some more controversy. I would 100% back legalizing a purge. Like,
oh yeah,
You made those feelings clear more than once, I think.
on the record.
I'm okay with it. Like, I probably wouldn't purge personally, but I'm okay for everybody else because I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
We're kind of halfway there at the moment. With
Exactly.
Being locked inside anyway.
Well,
So,
12
I
hours
just want
once a
like 2
year.
or 3 years of notice so I can actually barricade my house so I don't get killed by anybody.
didn't
Just
work
don't
out
make
so well
enemies.
for them in the first one, I'll tell you that. Well, there you go. That's what we've been watching. Not a big week in the 10-point podcast viewing theatre.
Start releasing
but,
films, you fucking company bellends, corporate cunts.
Quote.
You wanna try that
10-point
again?
podcast. Okay, on to what the reason for the podcast is today, and that's point number 1 on the 10-point podcast. What is the point? The point is the 1999 action-adventure fantasy The Mummy, brought to us by Universal and Alphaville Films, based on the Universal Pictures Monster franchise that was first seen in 1932, the version of The Mummy starring Boris Karloff as Imhotep. This is essentially a 60 years later updated version of that. Written and directed by Stephen Sommers, who his IMDb essentially looks like this. Catch Me If You Can, not that one, one that came before the Catch Me that you can, if you can, everyone knows of. The Adventures of Huck Finn, The Jungle Book, again, not that one, a 1994 live action version of The Jungle Book. Deep Rising, then The Mummy Returns, Van Helsing, G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, that I'm sure came up on the podcast last week. It did because Channing Tatum's in it. And then Odd Thomas. He directed and wrote all of those films. However, there's a lot of writing credits on The Mummy here because obviously it was based on a previous film. A couple of other people helped him write this one as well.
They're all films that star Benny as well.
Is Benny in all of them?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much
okay.
ever since The Mummy, everything else you name, like The Mummy Returns, Van Helsing, and Cobra, he's in all of them.
Ah, right, okay. I hadn't realised he was a common collaborator.
Nolan's Michael Caine.
Aye, it looks that way.
Yeah,
What a comparison there he is.
yeah, Michael Caine and Benny, whose name we don't even know. I actually got it in my notes anyway, but the chap played Benny.
Kevin O'Connor, I think he's called.
There you go. Wasn't that was Brendan Fraser's character name, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Something else.
That's Des O'Connor.
Talking of Brendan Fraser, he is the star of the film. His fame coming into this film were the big films that I could pick out from his IMDb prior to this were Airheads and George of the Jungle, and then it was The Mummy after that. I don't know if there's anything before this that he was
California
hugely
Man.
Is that what he was famous for?
He was California Man or Incognito Man or whatever they called in America. It changed the name.
Right, different name in different places. But
Was Dudley Doolittle before or after this?
that was around the same sort of
Yeah.
time. I think it came just
Alright.
after it, I think, or it may have been in production at the same sort of time. But those are the ones that came beforehand. But since then, the ones I picked out that Brendan Fraser I could see, Bedazzled, Looney Tunes Back in Action, another one that comes up a lot. Crash, Journey to the Centre of the Earth, and Doom Patrol, and also personally for me, a very famous 3-episode arc in Scrubs that he was in, which was very poignant and very good, and just about the height that the
He was
Scrubs
dead.
TV show got. But he was revelations, spoiler alert, he was dead. But yeah, that's Brendan Fraser's IMDb. I don't know. He's a movie star, but you listen to his list of big time movies. It's The Mummy, really, isn't it?
George of the Jungle.
George of the Jungle, yeah.
Really? Yeah, but it's suddenly like, oh my god, everyone always goes back every few years to watch George of the Jungle.
You should really do it. It's definitely
It's
worth
coming
it.
up this month. Brace yourself.
Chris is going through the Brendan Fraser back catalogue. You've picked his season list this
Bring
week.
it back.
Along with Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, we have Rachel Weisz. I think it's Weisz with a V rather than a W. Coming into this, we had Chain Reaction, Sunshine, Enemy of the Gates, and Constantine, I think, was just before it. And then coming out of it, Lovely Bones, Born Legacy, Oz the Great and Powerful, and then more recently, The Favourite, which was a big Oscar-nominated film a couple of years ago.
Enemy at the Gates has got a good scene in it that Chris will like.
Oh, really?
Aye.
I don't know what you're talking about, Andrew.
You love a little bit of Pervin.
There's you jumping out
Yes. So that's Rachel Weisz. I can't think of anything that's been missed out there. But again, I see her as more of a movie star. But a lot of dramas that I personally have not seen that could be big, could be good, could be well respected. But I did not recognise the name with the very average sounding names. They are the main two stars I picked out. I did not pick out anybody else. So
you missed the best.
who have I missed then? Who
Omar the Geely.
mentioned? Oh really? Okay. What's he famous for then?
Gladiator, The Infidel, a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I definitely Gladiator. I'll give you that much. But it's essentially a stand-up comedian more than like a big-time actor in any sort of thing like that.
I think he's in Bend It Like Beckham as well.
Right, okay. He's in about 3 scenes also in this film. And I missed out John Hannah as well. I thought John Hannah, he's pretty much in this because he was in 4 Weddings and a Funeral and then didn't really do any films again after that. So I pretty much left it there. I think it's 4 Weddings and a Funeral he's in anyway, but one sort of mid-90s sort of rom-com. The Mummy, however, we better get on to the numbers. On a budget of $80 million, it opened in the US with $43 million. Final US gross, $155 million, nearly doubling its budget on home soil. Worldwide raked in $409 million, a big-time money getter. I think it must be top 5 or 3 that we've done on the podcast here, quite a lot of money. Released 7th of May, 1999. Its awards went as follows. It was nominated at the Oscars of 2000 for Best Sound, but lost to The Matrix. It was nominated at the MTV Movie Awards of the year 2000 for Best Action Sequence. That was what was called the Sand Monster Scene, is what they titled it. Lost to the Pod Race from Phantom Menace. That's quite some competition there. I think it deserves to win that one. And it was nominated at the 2000 BAFTAs for Best Special Effects, and once again lost to The Matrix. They were the big award ceremonies. That's all they got. No, it did not get mentioned at all at the Razzies of 2000. I had a look at that. Good. It won 5 awards in total, but 2 of them were these previously mentioned German ones that I can't actually work out what they're for because everybody wins. It's like, you've done well at cinema this year, seems to be what it's for.
It's so like a pointy award.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 3 actual wins in total. 1 was for the makeup, and 2 were for the music. So not exactly a massive award winner around all of the award ceremonies that year. What in the hell are you drinking?
It's a jive or something.
Gigantic bottle or something. Sorry for the podcast listeners, man. They just produced a gigantic bottle to drink out of. Yeah? Anyway, on to the synopsis. I chose not to pick Nick's synopsis this time. It was quite good. I feel like Julian here gave me a bit more depth, and I thought it's something that we could work on a bit better. So here is how The Mummy goes. In ancient Egypt, High Priest Imhotep started a forbidden relationship with Ankh-Su-Namun, Pharaoh Seti's mistress. When Seti finds out about what's going on, Imhotep and his loved ones stab him, but can't escape the trustworthy guards. Ankh-Su-Namun chooses to commit suicide while Imhotep is bestowed with the Hom-Dai, the most feared curse of all. He is mummified alive in Hamunaptra, Hamunaptra, the city of the dead. More than 36 centuries later, in 1923 to be exact, adventurer Rick leads Egyptologist Evelyn and her brother Jonathan to the mysterious Hamunaptra. While Jonathan is keen on finding the legendary Egyptian treasures, Evelyn wants to search for the Book of the Living, which would clarify a lot in historical knowledge about ancient Egyptians. Unfortunately, they and a rivaling group of careless American adventurers free Imhotep's mummy from its eternal prison. Now, with the ancient and quite agile high priest on the loose, the adventurers and scientists face not only a dangerous enemy, but also a massive threat to today's world. Imhotep wants to bring back Ankh-Su-Namun, and using Evelyn's body, but he also wants to rid the world of the disbelieving crowd of democracy supporters to be able to enforce his tyrannic dictatorship. There you are. Got very wordy towards the end there. We watched The Mummy. In recent episodes, have been caught up with this. Which version did everybody watch, or is there only one version of The Mummy?
I didn't realise there was a
Nah, I think this
That's the one.
is a bog standard one, as far
There
as
is
I'm
only
aware.
one and one only version of the Mummy.
Yes.
Okay, so there's not going to be any differences. Not going to be cut out by the ending was different from what I
Ah,
watched.
right. I got
No,
what you mean
nothing.
now. I thought you meant like the one that made like 1920 odd.
Oh right, yes. Yeah.
No, just because Bruce missed an
no.
ending on Blade.
Yeah, Blade confused
Yeah, I got
me.
you now.
21 Jump Street had an unrated version and all this sort of stuff. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
that's why-
missed that one, didn't I? The unrated version.
Right, so the
Yeah.
Mummy is just the Mummy in 1999. Okay, Chris, you picked it. Give us a brief explanation of why you picked it.
Well, it fitted into my little category that I've got going, and I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed or Origins, and I keep thinking, this is like the Mummy. And then I thought on the day of picking my movie, I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go for the Mummy. I've not seen it for ages, and why the hell not? I don't do enough action films, apparently.
Well, this is certainly an
It
action
is
film.
true. We did go through the list last week, and it was like, fucking hell, Chris does not pick action.
I did last season, because all you picked nothing but action films, basically.
Well, there we go. Maybe we want
I
to
had
keep
to
the
mix it up.
action quota up.
There
Yeah, I
we
think
go.
for the Mummy, I definitely saw it in the cinema, and I think I probably saw it maybe once on TV afterward. Andy, what channel would be showing the Mummy? Where would I see TV?
Definitely be Sky
say Film
first,
4.
but then it'll be E4, Film 4, yeah.
I feel like it's a BBC. I reckon
Yeah.
Saturday 5 o'clock,
Oh.
maybe Sunday 5 o'clock.
No, you might be right, actually,
Yeah, I think it's a BBC sort of film. Obviously, yeah, the premium channels will get it first, but I feel like this is a BBC weekend.
BBC we would
I
pay
think
that
it's
great
quite late
subscription
to
to and
the-
get a last minute.
The party with this film. I don't think I started watching this until I was like late teens.
That's because you
Long
didn't start
after
watching
before it
films
came
until I started taking you to the cinema.
It's not true.
Right around about
What about you,
2010
Andy?
to whatever.
Early memories of the Mummy? Do you see it at the cinema and stuff?
I definitely seen it in the cinema because my mum's a massive Brendan Fraser fan because she loves George of the Jungle. And yeah, I remember that being funny. So I thought I was going straight into this and being like an absolute like laugh out loud comedy because that's all I knew Brendan Fraser from. So I was strapped in
Not
for the
quite
comedy.
Not quite exactly what you got. On to point 2 on the podcast then. Point 2 are the high points, what we think are the best bits, best things about the film. Again, Chris, you picked, so why don't you lead us off with maybe your first couple of high points?
Straight off the bat, I've got to say the jump scares. Like Andrew, you expect this to be a comedy and like fucking shit myself just about the first 10 minutes.
Did you shoot yourself when John Hannah jumps out the coffin?
Yep, that's exactly the first point that made me jump.
Chantel absolutely shit herself.
You kind of knew something was coming, like, and the names as well: Abdul, Muhammad, Bob, and then
That's scary, that Bob.
Nearly died.
Fucking Bob.
I'll just do this. I'll go right to the end as well. Is when the Medjai puts the hand on Jonathan's shoulder, I nearly died because you think, oh, all happy, blah blah blah, and then he nearly died.
I don't think I was watching it with like the sound loud enough. 'Cause I don't think I got a fright at any point. Like Jade was saying that this is quite scary when like the mummy was not quite a mummy, not quite a person yet, I should say. But I was like, no. And then you mentioned a couple of jump scares. Like, I can see how that's meant to be a jump scare, but no, I don't think it ever got to me. Not that I'm not pretending to be like the big man and that, but I didn't feel particularly scary to me.
To jump in on one of my high points in this one is it's one of the first films I got on DVD along with The Matrix from Blockbusters.
Yeah. The Matrix was the first one for me. I still remember it was the one I got on DVD.
And that's when you got like 5.1 surround sound. I literally got like on eBay an old 5.1. Well, it was new, but it was proper Chinese.
And from China.
Yeah, like pikey as fuck.
The pikey Chinese, of course. Yeah.
So
the famous travelers from China. Yeah.
So yeah, 5.1 surround sound system. This film has like lasting memories of being like the best sound ever on 5.1 surround sound. Like especially when the little scarab beetles were running around and that, it was blowing my mind. It's like they're coming from everywhere, and then just like
your skin.
Yeah, and then the mummy roaring and stuff like that.
I think I must have watched it at your house at one point.
Aye.
And one of the late night things we did, I could hear it coming from behind me and everything. It was the first time I'd ever noticed it.
Yes, Krista used to love coming to my X-Fests.
Your X-Fest late at night, yes. Again, we never want to hear about these on the podcast. It's like the fishing trip in Gavin and Stacey. We do not want to hear about these.
I don't watch that shit.
My early high point I've got is just the opening voiceover. I thought the guy was brilliant at just explaining what was happening. And again, those names are quite difficult to say. I was like, he did really well. Then I later find out that he was like the Fez guy. So the American squad, there was the one guy who was the bookie, the librarian version on their team, the guy who He got
Eric
out in
Avery.
the courtyard. Yeah. He was
No.
eaten in the courtyard when all the mummies came and got him.
Oh yeah.
And he wore
Yeah,
a fez
right.
the entire time. It wasn't narrowed down because about half a dozen characters do it.
What's his name? Jonathan Hyde. That's his name.
That could be him. He was the one doing the opening voiceover because, like, when he first
No,
spoke.
it's not. It was what's his face. It was
Yeah.
the Medjai.
Yeah, it's Odad Ferreira or whatever he's called. Don't even say his
He
name.
was the guy that
Was it
watched
him?
over.
That's him.
Yeah.
Ah, I thought it was the American guy. 'Cause
No.
His voice absolutely matched it.
Nope.
Like, totally matched it. All right, fair enough then. If it was him.
Old Resident
Uh,
Evil dude.
Right.
And
Okay,
Star
that
Trek
would make-
Discovery
I've
Season
never
3.
seen him in anything else apart from the Mummy films, so I don't know what else
No,
he's in.
he's in the later Resident Evil franchises, and he's in Star Trek Discovery Season 3, and he's in loads of TV now.
There you go. So he absolutely nailed it because the opening voiceover really got me into it.
So
again-
good that you didn't even know who it was.
Honestly, the guy's voice was like, "Oh my god, you sound exactly the same." I was like, "That must be that guy." They read it. And then the opening scene of like it being ancient Egypt and all that was amazing as well. I thought this is 1999, and we've made fun of 90s movies for the special effects.
Yeah.
Most famously, Blade, I think, was the one which came out essentially the same year, maybe a year before, and the special effects from the get-go were really, really good in it. So yeah, big thumbs up for the opening of the film. I know Andy used to always moan about them, and it was a quick one, so you can't moan about them.
I know, no, I quite like the opening film. I'm going to kind of jump in with your set pieces, and it's not really related to the film at all. However,
Good.
what I did like about this, it does have Brendan Fraser in it, and it's called The Mummy. But when I was at Universal Studios, I went on the Mummy ride. That is amazing. It is literally like the opening when like you kind of start and you're going to go and do like a little mine train, which Sean had to wedge me in because the bar wouldn't really shut very well. So Sean was happy to jump on me and do that. But the problem is the ride lasts for quite a while because it starts off with Brendan Fraser kind of talking that they're going to kind of break into this tomb and crack open stuff, and then I'm like, this ride needs to go over, and then it just drops, and then the whole fucking room goes on fire. Like, I mean, actual fire. And then you kind of go through all the tombs and stuff like that. But it's like going through Egypt on a roller coaster. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
yeah,
That's a
it's
high
basically
point.
it's the high point for this. This film made that ride happen. The roller coaster.
At least we got the roller coaster because what was it? We theorised during Casper that a scene was put into the film to make a roller coaster. And
Yeah.
they never actually made it. So
No, this one did, and it is brilliant. A lot of jump scares in it. Chris would love that ride.
Oh yeah, I do like a scary roller coaster.
Yeah.
I'd like going the whole jump thing as well. I like the fact that it's kind of just like a action comedy right up until Evie reads the book, and then it's like a full blown horror. There's like fucking zombies, like mummies and stuff coming at you, scarbeels eating people.
Were you trying to say like mummies without using the title, Chris?
But yeah, I like the fact that it's kind of blended comedy and horror quite nicely. Horror.
Yes.
I just like all the people I know, like from other things, like Eric Avery, who was like Stargate, and it's like he's playing exactly the same guy.
Oh,
Like,
in fact, we
that guy's
actually
never-
met him.
yeah, we met him. I've
What
met him
the-
multiple
what's the
times. I've met him
topic?
multiple times. Chris has met him. That's Chris's favorite
Yeah.
celebrity.
Get a
was
sound
a complete
effect for you
accident.
dropping in.
Clangers.
Clang. Have you met this person?
Also met Brendan Fraser, but he did not look like as handsome as his Brendan Fraser in The Mummy because he put the chub on. So, but I don't blame him because like this is my other high point. It's a segue, but it's a high point. So Brendan Fraser now, if you've seen him, he doesn't really look good like he does now, or like in this film. And it's basically because he does all his own stunts. Like, and it was a big thing for him, like from like George of the Jungle and all that. He did his stunts, and it absolutely fucked his body up to such a degree that he's just now a fat guy.
Not a
So-
fact, but he nearly died in this film.
He did. He almost strangled
Yeah,
himself.
Yeah, he stopped breathing when he was getting hanged,
Yep.
and then they had to get resuscitated.
Yep.
Ah.
Full on passed out. It was Omar Dajili that apparently that shouted like that guy's not moving. So they actually had to cut his rope down because the harness actually was a bit tighter than they thought. Because he has like a harness on his back, which you can actually see when it drops. But then the rope was not as loose as they thought it was, and it actually was choking him out, and he passed out.
Right, okay.
So man does his own stunts.
There you go.
So high
There
point
was another
props.
bit a bit later on in the film, and I was like, that looked like it was him doing it. So now I'm
Yeah.
convinced that it would have been him that was doing it. So
I know it's more dangerous, but I always prefer when an actor does their own stunts.
yeah. 'Cause
Feels-
it doesn't take you out of it. Like if you could quite clearly see, like I find it, the one that stands out to me a lot is in Kill Bill, where you can quite clearly see where it's not Uma Thurman anymore, and it's actually our stunt double doing some of the sword fighting, and it's like But again, it's Quentin Tarantino, so he probably meant to do it. I don't know, there'll be something daft like that. But yeah, it does take me out sometimes when you.
It's like Rachel Weisz doing her ladder trick at the start as well. It's like magic.
Speaking of that, that's my next high point. It's not the ladder so much, but the bookcase dominoes around the room I thought was really good. And it's going into this, I was saying to Andy that I know I've seen this film, I know what it's about, and I know flashes of like sand and people out in the desert and all that, but I couldn't remember anything that happened in the film. No. And then the bookcase dominoes around the library happens, and I'm like, this is the film where that happens. Like I somewhere in my brain, I was like, I've seen this before somewhere. But yeah, I thought that was an amazing kind of, again, practical sets, which we love on the podcast.
Yeah.
The actual wasn't any CGI, no computer animated. Actual, you could full on see their actual bookcases going around. So that was a great.
That was done on one take because it would be too much of a faff to pick all the books back up.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I do like a practical set. I'm going to agree with that high point on this one, and it blends well with CGI sets. Like there's only a couple of dodgy ones, but most of them are pretty good, so I can't really moan too much at that. The dodgy ones near the end.
The only one that really annoyed me was at the start, is when he's riding on the horse through the thing. You can tell that's completely fake, but then afterwards it's a bit more.
No, my only one's when he's fighting the random mummies at the end. There's a scene where it's quite clearly all the backgrounds are CGI, and he kind of runs down about 3 real steps, and the rest of it's all fake. That's the only bit that stood out for me being bad, but the rest of it was really good.
I know we're still on high points here, but I'll just chime in with my worst bit of CGI in the film was the very, 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 very end where Imhotep is going into the kind of goo, and it starts to look a bit funny, and it's like, oh, that's not too bad. And then the very last, bloop, 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 as he disappears, it's quite clear that someone has got a bit of a puddle and done that, and then tried to CGI this real water in amongst all this actual, and then amongst all the CGI water, and I was like, okay, there's the blade, big
bladed
drop of blood moments there. Yeah, the very last bit, they just didn't quite nail it.
I've only got a couple more bits. Quite possibly the best scene in the whole movie is when Rick lobs the chair at Benny and wipes him right out.
Yeah, I nearly wrote it down. I thought, it's too small a bit. No one else is going to mention it. I'll leave it out. But yeah, and the guy, he's even like, "What a shot!" Someone says when he throws it as well.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for Benny because he was actually quite a smart goon.
I've got Benny in my high points. I was like, we don't try and pick on characters or actors for high points, but I think the character of Benny throughout had quite a good storyline all the way through, where he's not an utter idiot the entire time. He's quite smart, and he doesn't, not necessarily working both sides. Like, you know who he's working with and who he's against, but he's quite clever in it until he full on just, the greed gets him at the end, and that's what costs him. So I think the character of Benny is quite good the whole way through, and I thought the actor who you've already mentioned, whose name I'd written down, I thought he did it pretty well as well. But
his quote that he says is quite smart, like, better to be the right hand of the devil than against him or something. That's a paraquote, whatever it was.
But yes.
But is it a parrot singing down the toilet? That's the question.
Is it a parrot singing down the toilet? That's random out of nowhere. But yes, Benny, thumbs up for me. The next high point I actually have is when the intruders break into the rooms on the boat, and Jonathan accidentally sets the guy on fire. So the whole boat scene, I've criticised boats in the past on the podcast for being the worst scenes, but I thought it was quite a good boat journey that they had. But yeah, the kind of comedy / kind of physical fighting and all that, the whole boat, I thought was really, really good. And I thought as an early part in the film, I thought, I feel like I am in Indiana Jones right now. This is the mood they're going for is an Indiana Jones film, and I'm very much liking it around that point.
I've only got one more high point. You got any more, Andrew?
Nah.
My last point is the absolute savagery of the whole group just driving through the Egyptians and wiping them all out in the car. Just annihilating them all just because they were fallen Imhotep. Savage bastards.
They're the plague. Fuck them.
I do feel they were a bit harsh on the people who were easily turned by the mummy. Yeah, it seemed to be a bit. Things got murderous quite quickly. Yeah. My last, I'll run all mine one after another here. I've got when they get to Winston's airbase thing, and he's just living his best life out in the middle of the desert with his gramophone and his herd of goats. So I immediately thought Black Phillip was behind the whole thing when I saw the goats. And John Hannah's line to him of, everyone else has run into this far has died, so why not you? I thought it was a good one. Because around that time I was thinking that there's only 3 of them left, and they're trying to go and catch the 4th one because Evie had been captured. I thought, they're just wiping out everyone who ever associated themselves with. But then it goes from there into the plane and the big sand wall after that, which to me that's the movie is right
Yeah.
there. Is that
Yeah.
them escaping the big face, which reasonably well holds up. We've criticised some of the CGI so far, but I think it's not too bad. The giant face in the sand trying to catch on.
I've got a fun fact right about now. When they were filming
Is
that
it as big
scene,
as ours?
yeah, they
I
had
know.
to film it really fast because when he puts his hands up and does that, his cape would blow up because of all the fans blowing the dust. So if they left it on too long, his arse would just flap around. That's proper acting from Arnold Vosloo there.
That is a fun fact. That one, that is fun and a fact. And then my last high point I've got is O'Connell beating up the mummies at the kind of the ceremony altar thing where they were trying to like use her to bring back, where he just the kind of camera follows him round as he like boots one right in the balls and then chops the head off the next
Grabs
one
the
and then
hand.
punches the next one. Yeah, they were all like it would be like awesome, funny, awesome. Like the way he was killing all of them one after the other. It was always a comedy one every so often. I thought that was a really good scene, and that's probably my favourite bit of the film. But obviously for me, the high point is the face in the sand chasing the plane. On to point 3 in the podcast, which is the low points, where we talk about.
Right, I'll take this
some
one
of the less
because
good. There we go. Andy's taking charge of the low points.
right, it's a harsh one, but you have to bear with me on this one. The whole film,
All right. Okay.
right? Now, it's mostly because of me, right? I'm not going to say it's the film's fault. It's probably my fault. And it's because the film doesn't feel finished because the second one works so well with it. And for me, these films blend. And like, if you asked me to pick out bits, I couldn't tell you because I really was like, oh yeah, this is the one where Rachel Weisz and Thingy basically have a chick fight, and it's like one of the best chick fights in films. That didn't show up in this film because it's in the second one, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's where the mummy. Nope, that's in the second one as well. And it's one of these films that is good, but it's kind of too good for its own liking, where they blend in so well. And if you watch The Mummy, then The Mummy Returns, it's the same film. It's like a two-parter. So it's my biggest criticism of this film is it's almost too good because the second one was really, really good. Whereas at least the Terminator and then Terminator 2 completely different. These are exactly the same films.
I think that now that's every episode this season where you have said that this is not as good as a different version of the film. Is it like a sequel or a prequel?
Yep.
I think we're on that trend going now where that one was better, that one was better, and then that one was better.
Like I said, it's by no means a bad film, but I just feel like it's a low point because it's a bad film because it doesn't stand out for me now.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. I don't know how to categorize it, but that's the best way I can sum it up.
This was to be remade now, and I know Tom Cruise tried to remake it however long it goes. They would probably just kind of make it a bit shorter and just glue it onto The Mummy Returns, or too much of the returning. Like you wouldn't make him go away, but you would just have all the bits that happen.
They could probably just still have all the bits and just do like a bigger film, like cut a few of the bits out, because that's the thing. The second one just adds more to it. It's not the story doesn't end, even though it tries to end the film. But yeah, the next one just kicks off right where it left off. So my other low point was there's so many good actors in this that it actually hurts the film because I want more. I want more of that guy. I want more of that guy. I want less of him, but you put more of him in it for some reason. It's got too good a cast for its own liking as well, so it's a low point overall.
Too good a cast.
You know that now, but back then they were probably little guys.
Oh yeah, but even still being little guys and not knowing any of their names, I still want to know more about that guy. I want to know, like, there's only like 4 or 5 people in this film I did not give a fuck about, and it was all the American people that opened the tomb up.
Yeah, and they're essentially there to be that role anyway.
But
they're the ones that are there to be sacrificed.
Like, Benny, I wanted to know more about. Winston the pilot, I wanted to know more about. I wanted to know about Jonathan Thingy, Erica Avery. I wanted to know all about them, but they get such little bits. And then, like, obviously in the second film, they get bigger parts. But in this film, I wanted more from them. And you don't kill Oma Dejili off in the first 25 minutes. Bullshit. My boy.
Another fun little fact about him, he didn't wear anything underneath his costume, and then you can slightly see it apparently. When he's getting attacked by the scarab, you can see his balls.
God's sake.
It's a true story.
Chris has dragged us out the gutter there that time. I got a second episode in a row now.
Classic.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
I'll go for my low point. Is the lack of violence. Like, anytime there's like a death or it's like a horror. People are going to die. It always cuts to like a shadow on the wall, or
Ah,
just
see, I quite like that.
turns
It gave
away.
it character.
I don't know. It's like I know it's got to do for like age ratings and stuff like that. It's PG-13, but like if you're going to show somebody die, fucking show it. Not a shadow. Who cares about a shadow?
Okay, here, monster.
Thank you, Chris. It's your
Ah.
opinion. You're entitled to it. Any other low points, Chris? Or
I've got a few, but I'll let you go after my
Right,
one more. After the prologue about Imhotep and I can't even say her name. I'll call her Anushka.
And
I
Axel
found like the next scene like completely unnecessary. I could have skipped the whole thing until like the what was it after the thing? It's the war with Rick and the other Egyptians. You could have skipped all that and just went straight to Evie in the library. I think we went from there. There's a whole like 20-minute scene that was unnecessary. I thought.
they
It's
had
subjects.
to set up that he had been there. I think that was the only reason for it, wasn't it? That O'Connell had actually been at the place that she needed to go to. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we've got a prisoner who's been there. But yeah, it does go a bit long, and it did mean I had an awful lot of counting to do, but we'll come to that.
Yep.
I'll hit my couple of my low points. This now takes a different meaning to it, a different feeling to it after some information that's come out so far. But O'Connell was hanged. He should be dead. Like, he was dead, and the way you've been talking, Brendan Fraser was also dead.
Yes.
And it's like, there was no way he survived that. Like, he was a dead man, and somehow they were like, oh, it's an action family movie, so actually he's not dead. But everything they did should be dead. And I did some Googling. I was like, can you survive being hanged and all this? It's like, you could survive it, but technically you would probably take so much damage that you would die within 24 hours afterwards. If it didn't break your neck, what damage it did to you, you'd probably
But you had a
be dead.
majestic neck.
The drop, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, to me, he's dead. He's a ghost
Yeah.
through this entire film. He's also undead, like the mummy is. I've got a lot, for the first time in a while, my low points are a lot of questions. I feel like things were unanswered, and Andy's like, people were unexplained. I feel like things were unanswered. Things like, how did the camels outrun the horses? Again, I Googled it. Horses are on average 20 miles an hour faster than camels, but the camels managed to outrun these horses.
Not on sand.
See, that bit there annoys me is he's been to Hamunaptra before. He knows that it's going to show when the sun comes out. He could just got a head start and kept going.
It's roughly that way, and once we're there, yeah. So yeah, that. My next one, why can he be sand? When he turns into sand and goes through a lock and later on becomes a sand, why can he be sand?
That's what mummies do.
Hot die.
Is that what mummies do? Why aren't all the mummies just being sand?
Well, technically, he wasn't a mummy. He was never mummified.
Yes, he was.
His other people were mummified. No, he was still alive.
Aye, but he was still mummified.
That's why he's the mummy.
No, just because you're wrapped in bandages doesn't mean you're mummified.
That is.
He was never mummified like the other ones. So
you're telling me the main villain of the film The Mummy is not in fact a mummy? Is that what you're telling us?
Fucking hell. Breaking news.
Quite a stance.
Fucking hell. This took a turn on low points.
My God, revelations on the Mummy podcast. And then my final question I have, that's one of my low points. Has there ever been an ancient secret society that hasn't wanted to tell strangers that they're an ancient secret society? Like, I feel like, oh yeah, you found this thing. Okay, here we go. So we're an ancient secret society, and we know all about this now. It's like, no, you're not very secret. You just tell every random stranger who comes in. It's like, so yeah, that was my last one. A bit annoying. And again, he was the one that I feel like probably could have been in it more. Your man, the Bays, Mr. Bay and Son Bay. I thought they could have been in it a bit more. I thought that their story of their secret society could have been expanded on. So that's a few of my low points. I've got a couple others I've got to save. So if anyone else,
all right, I've got one more because you seem to have missed the gaping obvious one. Right,
well,
I like Arnold Vosloo as the mummy, as in the mummy himself.
Oh, the mummy, yeah.
Right, the mummy, not the guy. It's just in bandages, but physical human form. I like the mummy. I have a few issues when he's not the mummy, such as if you're trapped in a sarcophagus for X amount of years and you can't die, and you start scratching for a little bit.
He's not mummified then, is he? He's still alive.
He got out with the bandages, so he was in there. Why would you I reckon when you're slowly decaying, like you're dying slowly, it's going to take some time. Why would you whack your jaw off to one side and leave it really widely open? Like, how long did he have to go? Like, I'm going to die soon. I'm going to go. Ah.
Yeah, I was supposed to think he's just been going. Ah.
screaming
like,
for like,
yeah.
and then he's like mouth is just locked open. It's like I find that hard to believe. And then just like certain bits, like some are amazing, and this is the problem. It's like some are absolutely amazing effects. Like when he's just got a little bit of mummy, but when he's kind of like all mummy and walking, he's still got the wonky jaw, and it just looks shit. Like visually done well, like it looks good. It's just the positioning, and it really annoyed me. So yeah, the mummy annoyed me.
That brings me nicely into my next point. Is mine and Bruce's old friend, the super stretchy CGI jaw, comes back. Who thought it was a great idea? Like, just because he's a mummy doesn't mean he could stretch his jaw lower to his fucking, I don't know, his knees.
Well, he's been practicing for hundreds of years, stretching his jaw out in the sarcophagus.
Yeah. But also, he can be sand, so he can do anything he likes. If he can just be sand, he can stretch himself to be like yards, miles wide, so he can stretch his jaw a little bit, I guess.
It does look weird. What's my last point? It's not really a part of the movie, but when rooms are shrinking and people always like look like they're going to get their legs trapped, it gives me the fear. I hate the idea of getting trapped somewhere and not getting out.
Yeah.
I know it's like claustrophobic, but it's not proper claustrophobic, because I'm not claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But I just hate that feeling.
And they didn't have a hat to leave behind.
Yeah.
To hand through either. That was a low point.
He left a Benny behind though.
Left a Benny behind. Poor old Benny.
Poor Benny.
So I've got two more low points. One is very quick. The quicksand bit, I don't think that's how it works.
Quicksand is true. Quicksand doesn't exist. Quicksand's purely a Hollywood-made thing. The metaphor of quicksand, if you stand in it, you'll pretty much go to your knees when you can get out.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you just lie back, don't you?
The fact that they're just like as he goes down, and then they just turn. I just walk a little bit to the left, and I just walk over. I was like, that could be quicksand. What are you doing? So yeah, that just I was like, that'd be funny. But my major low point, and this is the sort of stuff that this is why I watch films. So again, bear with me like Andy did. So that's our good guy team. They break into the crypt thing. Then Omid Jalili wanders off and picks bugs off the wall and dies. The Medjai, or whatever they're called, they attack them and are like, do not go in there. So then they fight, bang, 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 people are dying and all this stuff, and then they leave. The good guy team get blackout drunk and fall asleep. Like Evie gets pissed and then Jonathan's having a nap. Then the same night, they're all awake again and go back in again, open up the sarcophagus, get the book, and we've got the book now. Jonathan goes back to sleep again. And then she reads from the book, raises the mummy, all the plagues start going, they run around, both towards the mummy, away from the mummy, and then the Medjai all then come back to say, aha, we told you so, and then it's the next day. It's like, this is like 3 days all rolled up into one here, but it's never daylight, they never change clothes, there's never this sort of, right, we're planning to do this, they just go in and out, in and out, in and out, and then the whole Medjai team are like, don't do that, we're warning you, and then they come back the same night and go, we warned you. It's like, just stop them going in the first place. So yeah, that 15-20 minute period of the film, that's my low point. It's not the whole film like Andy, but that period there, I was just like, what are they doing here? And only one of them's sleeping. So that's my big low point. There you go. You can't argue with it, so it's fact.
Yeah. And also wait there, just to add to your fact, in The Mummy Returns, there's a fuck ton of Medjai. Like, they could have easily overwhelmed the team and just stopped them.
Yeah.
It's not like there's 3 of them.
No. Yeah. Is that the final low point? Anybody else? Got any others? So on to point 4, the stats. Normally when we say stats, we hear something else.
I thought I heard a shit.
Well, you're wrong, Chris. You did not hear any shits on that episode on that film. Not one at all. Nobody said the S word whatsoever. But Andy, you keep your ear to the ground, to the sand for a different kind of shit. So did you hear anything?
There was definitely telltale signs of somebody just coming out of the shitter.
Really?
It's one of the Americans. He kind of comes out and he's like washing his hands. So when he walks into like the bedroom, so he's definitely been in. I think his mate's shitter as well, because he's in. I think he's in his mate's room, and he's definitely left a deuce in that toilet.
I'm not sure what 1920s Egyptian plumbing might not be the best.
I don't know, but it definitely looked like he was coming out of the shower. And then also another question I had about shit. There was quite a lot of them in that like kind of archaeological dig thing. Who's digging the toilets? Like you don't have plumbing out in the desert.
I think it's as big as you go, Kyle. situation, isn't it?
I don't know. Like,
Just go behind a dune and.
But
dig a
what's
hole.
what's the etiquette? If you're like there with like, I don't know, 30, 40 people, do you put little crosses so that somebody doesn't accidentally dig a shithole back up? Like,
Looking for treasure one day. Oh my
yeah,
god.
fuck it, somebody's did a job.
Oh, by the way, Andrew, that space over there's free, despite the fact I've just had like.
Exactly.
massive
I'm just one of them
drops of
things.
shit.
I was watching that scene, just going, I wonder. So yeah,
I had a similar thinking about like the same scene, but a slightly different avenue, which was in the middle of my rant I just had there. There's the battle, and a few people died, and then they just stay there, the people, and then they go back in again. It's like, who's dealing with all those dead bodies?
Yeah.
That's about at least a couple of dozen dead bodies that are just out there rotting in the sand.
they're throwing them in the
Someone comes,
shitholes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so maybe they doubled up. Maybe that's where they put the body in and then they just go on top and then cover it up again. Back to the stats though. There were no other swears either. They had a couple of bastards, a couple of son of bitches, a couple of using the Lord's name in vain, but nothing too hard. So a swearless film for us. Explosions, 15 I counted, but the majority of them were meteors from whatever plague that was hitting all the pyramids and stuff like that. So majority of explosions were meteors hitting the Earth.
That was actually dog food.
The dog food hitting the Earth.
Yeah, it was. That's what they used to use dog food.
Fun fact.
There you
Bosh.
go.
I'm being genuinely serious. That's a fun fact for you. It was dog food.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta say fun fact, and don't just have a wee smile on your face and just sound all smug about it.
Thank you, Chris.
Carry on.
Next stat, it is was rated PG-13 in America. I think it must have been a 12 or something for us over in the UK.
12 wouldn't have existed back then.
147 deaths. We got must
No,
be a PG
no,
or a 15.
No, it would have been PG, yeah.
PG. PG. 147 deaths, unless you count the mistress dying twice, because way back when she committed suicide, he tried to bring her back, and she was back, and all of a sudden she was gone again. So the ceremony wasn't completed. So if you want to say that she did come back alive again, it's 148 deaths. But 147, yes, I had to pause a few scenes to work out who was alive at the beginning and who was dead at the end. And yes, there were dead animals in this film. Bugs and horses died in this film. We can say that for a fact because we have this trend of animals also dying in every single episode that we ever do. So yes, there definitely
Not on
bugs,
purpose either.
bugs,
An
beetles,
accident.
style things, shot, and horses died in battle. Accounted for the film The Mummy. Despite what Chris says, I believe there were 61 mummies in this film, and I did indeed count Imhotep as a mummy in this film. So 61 different mummies. And we had 57 minutes until the mummy, which I still maintain is a mummy, becomes undead. So we did not get the mummy in his like evil form until 57 minutes into the film. And did they say the thing in this film?
I think they do.
Yeah.
Not at any point did they say the mummy.
Nah.
There is
Said
one.
mummies.
There is one the mummies, and there is a few, half a dozen or so a mummy. Like I don't want him to turn me into a mummy and all that. But not at any point did they say the mummy in the film. That's my final stat. Chris, have you got any stats?
Well, I thought I heard a Wilhelm scream, but I'm just grasping for stuff now.
I also thought I heard a Wilhelm.
We thought we heard it when the guy falls off the horse.
In the very start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. Since
It
you've
may
both
have
heard
been
it.
like Andy raised this issue to me earlier on that it may not have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you have both heard it, so I'll take it.
It sounded like a fake Wilhelm scream.
Like an homage to the Wilhelm scream without actually using the proper noise. So we'll see.
Apart from that, I was going to count mummies, but I couldn't be bothered.
61.
I got to, yeah. There's that one scene that all start popping at the ground, and I was like, that's a bit for. Okay, I'm done. I can't be bothered. There's going to be a lot more.
It's not an easy job, but someone's got to
No.
do it. Andy, any stats?
I did, and it's completely went out of my head. It was a banger as well, so it's something to look forward to when it pops back into my head. I shall throw it out.
Very good. Well, it may come up in our next point. So, point 5 on the 10-point podcast is the 10-point podcast quiz. I'll throw over now to Quizmaster Chris.
I'm going somewhere different with this one.
Oh, God.
This one's called Who's the Mummy?
God.
Is it Daddy? So I'm going to name an actor or actress, and you've got to tell me who their famous mum is.
Oh, God.
Right,
I'm shit at
So
this shit.
Bruce went first last week, so Andrew will start this week. We'll start easy and get harder.
It'll all be hard. I don't know people.
I'll also I'll tell you what movies have been in, so we'll give you a bit of a clue, because otherwise it'll be fucking impossible.
Who they? Who the mummy? What film the mummy?
The mum is.
The mum. Right.
So we'll start off nice and easy. Jaden Smith. Who's her mum?
Jada Pinkett Smith. What's her name? Is that her name? Jada.
I'll give him that.
I'll allow it. Jada Pinkett Smith.
That's it. Pinkett Smith. I didn't know if I said the middle bit right or not.
Okay. Bruce.
Mhm.
Billy Lord.
Oh, right. I think. So, are you telling us what film anyone's been in?
Yeah, their mother was in the original and latest Star Wars trilogy.
Oh. In that case, I'm going to guess Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, correct.
I knew that one.
That was not where I was going until I got the clue there. So
Fucking
thank
clue.
you.
Okay. You'll probably need a clue for this one. Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson.
Who?
Their mom was in Christmas Chronicles and Death Becomes Her.
Oh, Goldie Hawn. What? Golden Horn. Goldie Hawn? Golden Horn.
Oh, all right, Goldie Hawn.
You got the names in there somewhere, yeah. I don't think it's Golden Horn, no.
Bruce, Maya Hawke. The mother. I don't want to say this one because it's really.
Uma Thurman is her mum.
Yeah.
For that one. I nearly said Ethan Hawke for a second there, so I'm glad I realised what quiz we were playing there.
Andrew, Rumor Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Mum was. Go for the mum here.
I want to play the daddy game.
Ghost and G.I. Jane.
Oh, what's her name? I can't remember her name. Oh, what the fuck is her name?
Well, I'm going to have to rush you.
I forgot her name.
Oh.
Demi Moore.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh, you dammy bastard. Yes.
All I had was Bruce Willis in my head.
Okay. Bruce, Dakota Johnson.
Oh, right, okay.
She was in 21 Jump Street, but her mum was in Working Girl and Body Double.
Right. Was that Melanie Griffith?
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Oh. I've only got two more, by the way, so these two could be difficult.
Quickly approaching another tie here, aren't we?
Yeah. Toby Stevens. Do you know who
Clue.
that is?
Nah.
He was in Die Another Day and Black Sails. His mum was in Harry Potter and Hook.
Harry Potter and Hook. Jessica Knappett.
No. Let's pass it over.
What's the individual's name? The first person, the son, or whatever
Toby
it was?
Stevens.
Stevens.
And the mom was in Harry Potter,
and Hook. Right, I kind of know people who are in Harry Potter, but I can't remember half the cast of Hook. So I'm gonna guess Maggie Smith. Because
Oh, good guess.
yeah. Oh yes.
Prick.
So that was Bruce's turn. Last one.
This is to win it.
I'm expecting you to get this one because you just
Alright.
watched it recently. Jason Schwartzman. And it's going to be easy. Godfather and the Rocky movies.
Oh, I forgot what her name is. I just watched every Rocky movie. This is a shambles.
Andrew,
Yeah.
quickly Google it.
I've totally blanked on her name, so to give Andy less time to Google it, I'm going to pass because I can't remember.
Andrew, go.
Liv Tyler.
No, it was Talia Shire.
Talia Shire. God damn it!
Bruce wins 4-3.
5 of the movies I watched. I cannot remember Talia Shire's name. Thank you. A good variation on the quiz. Thank you, Chris. I liked it. Who's the mummy? Bruce Willis. That's my favourite bit of the quiz.
I was so close.
On to point 6 on the podcast. It's movies within movies. Quickly, the films I noticed that were being referenced or parodied throughout. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then George of the Jungle, because he looked just like George of the Jungle when he was in the prison cell, so that made me think of George of the Jungle. Obviously, Lawrence of Arabia. Scooby-Doo, because when the guy dropped his glasses and couldn't find his glasses, that's Velma all over right there. Apocalypse Now with the ceiling fan, Batman when he was at the window, and DuckTales the movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp, because this is clearly ripping off DuckTales the movie, especially with the character of Benny being Dijon. They had exactly the same story arc. Chris, movies and movies, what have you got for us this week?
Surprisingly, nobody has appeared in any of the main cast have appeared in any of the movies we've done. I didn't want to seem too big-headed putting me as the, Brendan Fraser and the little thing that we've got going. So I put myself as the main Medjai guy.
Right.
But
Because you got the hair like him.
I do. It's glorious, isn't it? And Bruce can be Benny to Andy's Imhotep.
Ah,
Just because you're Bolton.
I went a different direction because I like playing this game with you. I took on. I felt like you were going to say I was Jonathan, so I thought, right, I'll take Jonathan
I thought about that, but I just thought,
with
nah,
his with the most Scottish English accent you've ever heard in your life. Whereas I've got the opposite. I've got the most English Scottish accent. I put you as Benny, Chris, so we've given each other Benny. But Andy is most definitely, I don't know what his name is, but Omid Jalili, that's Andy.
Yeah. Totally would do that though.
That's what I did for recasting. And Andy, it's on to you. Movies and movies, that's your
Right.
thing. What have
It's
you got?
not it's not my thing because I found an Achilles heel with myself on this one.
Uh-huh.
I always like them to tie flawlessly. The problem is you picked a film that's old,
1920s, yeah.
so characters age. So
do they technically say a year at the start
Yeah.
of the film?
well, it's the end of World War One, isn't it?
1923 or something like that, yeah.
I know it's obviously that, but I couldn't remember if they actually put a date
So
in it.
it's really hard for me to tie a movie within a movie. So I kind of fucked this one up. So all I've really got is Brendan Fraser is frozen, and then he gets thawed out, and then does this bit, but then gets refrozen, and then turns back into Neanderthal. Aye, old caveman
Fair
dude.
enough, yeah.
And then gets thingied out, and then Pauly Shore and all that take over, and then madness ensues. It's the only way I could get him to the future.
Go to the future.
So I found an
Well, there we
Achilles heel with my game.
Yeah, the weakest yet, Andy is.
I
We
know.
found your the hole.
I
in
might
your
have
case.
actually won this one if I tried it.
Old films.
Maybe. I don't know where you'd have gone with it, but good.
Oh, no, neither do I.
Absolutely
Andy,
fuck
redeem
all.
yourself. 0.7. I don't know what it is. What's 0.7?
Well, I had so many ideas for this one, but I've decided to keep it simple. Now, we all know I like Ryan Reynolds,
Yes.
right? And Ryan Reynolds was in a little known film called Buried.
Mhm.
Imhotep was obviously buried for absolute ages as well.
Mhm.
What would you do to pass the time if you were locked in a sarcophagus / coffin?
Keep it clean, Chris. Like we're a family podcast.
Like,
I don't know,
let's say you're going to survive 10 days, and there's still hope that you might get out, so you don't want to top yourself, so death is not an escape. What do you do in a sarcophagus to keep yourself amused for 10 days?
So, right. My immediate thought is, like, I've not seen Buried again. I'll probably get on the podcast, but I'm thinking, Kill Bill Volume 2. She breaks a hole in it. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm also, that's a casket. That's not a sarcophagus. A sarcophagus is made of sturdier stuff than a
Yes.
casket. So I'm probably just going to go until I die. That's probably what I'm going to do.
I'd probably just fucking sleep for the entire time.
Sleeping's an option. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like
next to have
if
a
I've,
break.
if I've got nothing in my pockets, like obviously no phone with games and stuff, until it runs out, I'd probably just lie there and stare at the fucking darkness and sleep.
Big drawings on the inside. Have I got a light or is it pitch black?
Oh, you might have a phone, whatever you had on you when you got put in your sarcophagus. Ryan Reynolds does have a phone,
I'm
spoiler alert.
calling me just now, so
So
I'd probably just sleep.
you'd sleep for 10 days maximum.
I probably could.
Well, I have to keep it clean, apparently. Can't pass the time that way.
If you did, I think you would clean.
Because for me, I think I would actually go down the kind of the, I don't know, thinking route, the meditation route. Just trying to write the world and then practice my Jedi mind tricks to see if I can just kind of phase through the sarcophagus.
See, I assumed somebody was going to rescue me, so I wasn't going to try the whole breaking out. Or
Oh no,
myself.
you
I'll
don't
just
know.
lie there and
Somebody
wait.
might rescue you, somebody might not. So
I'll just fucking sleep my life away.
you sleep
That's
your
what
life
I do
away.
anyway.
Very good. Well, there we are. Buried. The worst case scenario was that they were 0.7 this week. I would say.
Yes.
You're buried alive. I don't know where to go.
I just wanted to
Point
mention
eight,
Ryan
nom-
Reynolds.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. He gets slipped into every episode. 0.8 nominations. What we want to nominate for the
Right.
10-point podcast.
I'm going
0.8
first
awards.
before Chris
There we go.
takes over everything.
Yeah, I've only got a few, so go for it.
Right, good. Right, this is up here for the biggest one we've ever had. Worst plan. This film is absolutely full of worst plans. However, one of the worst plans in movie history could be in The Mummy here. So, Guy sleeps with your wife, okay, then tries to resurrect your wife so he can steal her for his own thing, then, as a punishment, you somehow make him immortal, put him in a sarcophagus with a possible escape plan.
Yep.
Why? Like,
Yeah.
That's
Not a
exactly
good
what
plan.
I've got as my worst plan.
why would you just kill him? Like, surely you've just left so many loopholes there. Something's going to happen.
I don't understand where the whole, if he comes back, he's immortal. Why would you not just
Because
okay,
that
if
was
you
the
leave him here,
curse the
he's
Bell
dead.
End put on him.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just
That
stupid
was-
curse.
It would work if there was no way for him to resurrect the woman, because you're going to be alone forever without her. But then there's a way for her to come back as well.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not destroy the key? You've locked them in, and then locked it. You've locked the books so nobody can open the books. Destroy the key.
It's definitely the worst plan I think we've came across so far in movie history. Because the guy wasn't immortal, but then you gave him
Worse than
an
running a straight
immortal
line.
ability when he comes back and made him super powerful. Like, the Pharaoh did all that, but why? What a punishment. Oh, the light-hearted bants that guy had. Just what? That's one of my big ones. That's my first big nomination there. Worst cop? Where were all the cops? I'm sure there was like law enforcement back then, but all they had was Medjai as a slave trader. Like, where was he getting them? They've all committed a crime for having a very good time, but who's rounding them up? I didn't see one cop.
Are the Medjai police?
Very good time.
I don't know if they are.
No,
I
they're
don't
just
know if
they're just a secret society. They keep
Well,
themselves
they
to
are.
themselves.
Yeah.
They did
There you
do a very good job of keeping people away from that area, though. That was their one job.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
no.
a war there.
They had
People
World
going
War
and
One
stealing
there.
stuff.
Dreadful. Yeah.
So yeah, that could be another worst plan. I'm gonna go best supporting actor, the guy that plays Benny, because like I said, he did fuck all after this, but he was one of the best characters in this.
Not a fact for you. All the fucking camels hated him.
Aye.
Like that scene in the film when he's trying to pull the camel and it didn't move. That actually happened. You couldn't get the camel to move, so they kept it in the film. Every single camel just wouldn't move for him.
I just imagine like a camel sitting back on one of those chairs they have on
Fucking
movie
hate
sets.
him.
It's like,
I ain't
that
working with But my kind of final word, I'm going to keep it brief, is Brendan Fraser. The man can act, the man can do his own stunts, and he's got a majestic face.
Those eyes were dreamy in this film.
Oh, the hair, the eyes, it's all good. All good.
He was very Harrison Ford-esque in this film.
I
thought.
know. He's like a young,
He could
handsome
have
Harrison
taken over
Ford.
as Indiana Jones.
Yeah, get him the next Indiana Jones movie.
Needs to lose the chub now,
There
though.
we go.
Yeah.
Stop fat shaming the man.
I've got very few nominations, so I'm just going to quickly put in. I had a similar idea for the plan one, so I'll ignore that. I've got Rachel Weisz for Best Actress. I thought she was pretty good, and I always feel like we're light on Best Actresses. But yeah, I can't really fault any of the acting in the film. Like you mentioned earlier, Andy, that everyone's pretty good. Like you can't really say anyone's miscast or anyone's bad. But I thought she was pretty good, and you've already mentioned Brendan Fraser. So I think the only other nomination I've got that you haven't mentioned is Best Fight. And I've gone for Brendan Fraser against the mummies, where I found it hilarious every so often. Like he was killing each one in turn as he's running around. So I thought that was the best fight of the film. But I'm struggling to come up with best scene, really. I guess
Best practical
plane.
effects. Putting that as a category. Like best
Yeah,
sets. Sets.
Right. Okay. So
Good sets.
I'll and best sets, and I'll go the mummy. Chris, what have you got?
I've got 3 that you haven't nominated. Best hair, Odette Fair. It just narrowly beats out Brendan Fraser. Best inanimate object, the chair that wipes out Benny.
There we go. I'm trying to think of an animal. I cannot think of one, but yeah, I'll go for that. Yeah.
And just because you mentioned it before, the Michael Pena award, Odette Fair for his little explanation at the start.
AKA Jonathan Hyde, when Bruce does it.
Whoever it was that was saying it.
I can't believe you managed to find a different version where he does it. Fucking mental.
Maybe that's the version I got this time. Honestly, it sounded just like him. 'Cause I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense it would be him because he seems to be know all about this stuff as well. Yeah. So yes. Thank you, Chris, for nominating that because I'd forgotten to put that one in. Cause I think that'd be good. Is that us? And we got is that all the nominees? Right, on to point 9. We better hurry up. Moral of the story: what we thought the lessons would be learned of the film. I've got a haiku. I'll give it to you as follows: do not raise the dead. It rarely goes very well unless there's a cat. That's my moral of the story. because they seem to be scared of cats for some reason. Well, we explained why, but yes, there we go. Chris, moral of the story.
If your mirror is facing the wrong way, just shoot it with a gun, apparently, and it'll go perfectly into place.
Yeah, perfectly into place.
Also, a little note: don't condone gun violence. Gotta get that in there.
And Andy, moral of the story.
The size of your balls do matter.
In what context does that matter in this film?
It says it in the film.
Does it?
Yes.
When?
What was
one of
the
the great-
context?
I can't remember, but it was something. The guy just turns around and went, "Great big cone." I think it was
Well,
only
your
Geely.
mom's had more balls than brains, is what he says.
Aye, that's it. So
Benny.
yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, your balls, the size of your balls do matter. There we go.
Whatever you said, that's going to be my new life motto, I think. On to the 10-point rating. It's the 10th point on the podcast. Chris, it was your selection, so you get to pick first. What do you give this out of 10?
It's amazing how much you forget from a film. Like, I've seen it a few times, and like Andrew says, this one and the second one kind of blend together. I was expecting things to happen in this film, which actually didn't. But it's got a bit of everything. It's got action, comedy, a little bit of romance. It's got some horror, and there's not very many movies that have all that. And you know what, I'll give it a 6. You can just turn your brain off and just enjoy the spectacle. It's not a thinking movie.
I'll go next because I want to see what Andy scores it because I know he was a fan of it coming in. I really enjoyed it. It has aged surprisingly well for a film that's now nearly 22 years old. And I had forgotten so much about it. I think I like it better because I wasn't remembering what's in the second one, which I've also forgotten what's in The Mummy Returns. So I think it's pretty damn good. Does everything it's supposed to, like Chris said. It doesn't miss on any of it. Bit of character depth lacking, and the CGI could be touched up a little bit, which I think is a thumbs up for overall. I give it a 7. I'm going to give The Mummy. Andy, what are you giving The Mummy?
Right. This is the weakest one, other than the third one, because that one was shite, and the Tom Cruise remake. So actually, it's up there in the top 2 films for the mummies.
You could put it like that, yes.
Yeah, the third one is a complete and utter fucking disaster. I like Mummy Returns way better than this one. It's my favourite one, even though it's got an annoying little brat kid in it. But surprisingly, the kid's actually pretty good in it. This film, it just seems like it's missing something, and it is purely because they made a second one. If I'd just seen this film by itself, I'd be alright with it. But because I've watched the second one, I keep forgetting things and adding extra bits in it. But I like the film overall, and I'm going to agree with Chris for the first time ever, and it's a 6.
A 6 from Andy. That scores pretty well overall. I would say it's that, which means the final score, the official rating, is indeed a 6 from the 10-point podcast, with only me rating it a touch higher than that. That's happened in the past, but again, we're all across the board. I think that this season we've been quite even. We've agreed on most films so far.
Oh, just you wait.
So far.
19 in total and a 6 for the official rating. Now, Andy's excited. I'm assuming it's to do with what he's picking next. So, Andy, why don't you tell us what's next on the podcast?
Right, so you know I like a certain little year. It's a good year. It was when all the best movies came out.
Was it between 94 and 96, that sort of era?
Yep.
Is it? Yeah.
The classic 1995. So it's a film.
So it's an action film.
It's a film that's got something completely different in it I've not done yet. It's got some different elements. It's also stars a lot of people that we've not done. We've only done one person that's in this film, who only turns up as a small part. And Chris is going to absolutely fucking hate this film. Like, I mean, I'm going to say it, and the reaction on his face for all you people watching on YouTube, it's going to be hilarious. So
I'm going to watch it as well.
I've decided to go for the 1986 film,
Oh,
The Little Shop of Horrors. Did he do a face?
I've never seen it. He did a little bit of a face. He looks
Yeah.
happy. His face looks
You
happy.
know what, Nicola keeps talking about this film. She loves it. I don't know if it's this one or if it's a remake.
So I've decided to go for the comedy horror musical, Little Shop of Horrors, starring Rick Moranis.
Oh, Chris reacted there.
There we go, because he didn't know it was a musical.
What? When have we done 1986?
We
I
haven't.
don't think we have. No.
It was-
So
it was
that
the-
whole point, this going back to that year that we've done more than once, is just a load of shit.
I
Aye?
think he said that, did he?
No, I was
Did
talking
it?
about.
I thought you
I was talking about how I like 1995,
He
but I
was, yeah.
didn't. I went for
Yeah.
1986.
He's the master of distraction, is Andy. You think you're going over here, and then he goes over there, sort of thing.
Prestige.
Well, there you go. I've never seen it. I'm very much aware of it.
Neither have I, actually.
Yeah, very good.
I'm bringing some Broadway to the 10-point podcast.
Something a bit different. We like things that are different here. So everyone, you now have 7 days to watch Little Shop of Horrors. We'll find out if you can find it anywhere. I don't know if it's streaming here, there, everywhere. Please like, favourite, share all of our episodes, all of our posts, anything that you see that we do. Try and get our name out there. And we'll speak to you next week on the 10 Point Podcast.